What if I told you that Canada's future in electric vehicles isn't just about electric cars, it's about resilience, strategy, and planning in ways that most of the world hasn't even thought about? Right now, while other countries are struggling with factory closures, layoffs, and economic turmoil, Canada is doing something completely different. And it all centers around one surprising decision, a decision that many thought would be the beginning of the end. But instead, Canada's response turned it into something bigger than anyone could have predicted. Let's rewind the clock to a time when Ontario's automotive industry was seen as the beating heart of Canada's electric vehicle revolution. This was just a few years ago, when the Canadian government pumped billions into the electric vehicle sector, hoping to make Canada a major player in the global shift to clean energy. The MadeInCanada plant, which GM had invested heavily in, was expected to be the jewel of this plan, with the production of the BrightDrop electric delivery vans at the center of it all. But then, the unthinkable happened. GM paused production of those very vans, leaving the plant silent and workers uncertain. GM had already faced serious challenges with tariffs, supply chain disruptions, and rising costs, but this felt like the nail in the coffin. Workers, unions, and local governments were thrown into a state of confusion. People feared layoffs, economic collapse, and the loss of a key investment that had promised to reshape Ontario's economic future. It seemed like the perfect storm. But here's the twist. Instead of chaos, Ontario did something very different. It stayed calm. It responded strategically. Workers didn't lose their jobs, many were retrained for other EV-related roles. Contracts were restructured, and the local economy didn't grind to a halt. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something far more impressive. How did this happen? Why didn't Canada fall apart like many expected? And more importantly, could this quiet resilience reveal the true strength of Canada's economic model, one that other countries may need to start paying attention to? Let's break it down. First, we need to understand the background. The world's automotive giants have faced some serious challenges in the past decade. Tariffs, particularly the 25% tariff imposed by the Trump administration on vehicles made in Canada, had a significant impact on companies like GM. These tariffs disrupted everything. Parts became more expensive, manufacturing timelines stretched, and automakers that were once dependent on seamless cross-border trade were suddenly facing an entirely new reality. It was a financial hit that GM couldn't ignore. The costs added up quickly. GM's internal reports revealed they were losing over $1 billion in just one quarter, and annual losses could reach $5 billion if things didn't change. For GM, the logical response was to pause production at the MadeInCanada plant. But that decision had a ripple effect, leaving hundreds of workers uncertain and a community in limbo. Would this be another manufacturing plant shutdown, the kind we've seen too often in the US? Would workers face mass layoffs and the end of an era? Would Ontario's economy buckle under the strain? Instead of panicking, the Canadian government quickly went into action. They understood that the world was changing, and they needed to adapt quickly. The government didn't retaliate with tariffs or try to match Washington's aggression. Instead, Ottawa's response was calculated, deliberate, and calm. Within weeks, relief programs were rolled out. Tax credits were provided to companies still moving forward with EV production. Supply chain grants were given to local manufacturers to help them reduce their dependency on the volatile US market. Regional support funds were distributed to keep local economies strong. This wasn't just about quick fixes. Canada's long-term strategy was about building an economy that didn't just react to crises, it absorbed them. And it worked. While the US struggled with uncertainty, Canada stayed steady. Its response to GM's shutdown was a testament to its shock-absorber economy, a system designed to minimize the impact of global disruptions. So, while the US struggled with tariffs, Canada worked on a different kind of response. Its focus wasn't on fighting the system, it was on adapting and ensuring that industries could continue functioning without falling apart. Over $46 billion in electric vehicle-related investments poured into Canada between 2020 and 2024, supported by over $52 billion in public incentives. These numbers weren't just about money, they were about securing the future of the country's cleantech industry. But what's truly fascinating about Canada's response isn't just the financial support. It's how it used its challenges as opportunities for innovation. Let's look at the problem of Canada's harsh winter conditions. Anyone who's driven an electric vehicle in sub-zero temperatures knows the struggle. Battery range plummets. And when it comes to electric delivery vans, this is a serious issue. In temperatures between -7°C and 15°C, an EV's driving range can drop anywhere from 14% to 39%. For a delivery van like GM's BrightDrop, this could mean missed targets, operational challenges, and delays. But rather than treating the cold as a problem to avoid, Canada embraced it as a challenge to overcome. In Ontario, startups began developing cold-resistant batteries specifically designed for harsh winter conditions. Meanwhile, logistics companies like Canada Post began moving toward hybrid and hydrogen-powered fleets, which could perform more reliably in winter. It wasn't just about dealing with the problem, it was about using it as a springboard for innovation. What started as a setback became an opportunity for Canada to leap ahead in EV technology. And this is where Canada's economic model really starts to stand out. This isn't a country that reacts to economic problems, it proactively plans for them. The Canadian government has built a robust framework for future-proofing industries against global disruptions. And it's not just about resilience, it's about adaptation and growth. Whether it's cold weather technology or changes to global supply chains, Canada has a track record of turning challenges into catalysts for innovation. When you look at the numbers, Canada's commitment to building a self-sufficient, made-in-Canada electric vehicle ecosystem becomes even more impressive. The country has already begun to integrate the entire supply chain from mining to manufacturing. It's no longer relying on foreign imports for materials like nickel, lithium, and cobalt. These resources, once shipped abroad for refinement, are now being processed domestically, creating more jobs, more innovation, and less reliance on volatile global markets. At the same time, Canada has continued to diversify its trading relationships. By focusing on Europe, Canada is positioning itself to be a leader in green trade. The European Union is already looking for suppliers who can meet their strict environmental standards, and Canada, with its transparency and low-emissions supply chains, is a perfect fit. This strategy is paying off. Canadian manufacturing hubs in places like Windsor, St. Thomas, and Alliston are quickly becoming centres for material science, battery research, and high-tech innovation. Cities that once relied on traditional automotive manufacturing are now being transformed into CleanTech corridors, attracting investment and talent from all over the world. Ontario, which was once all about assembly lines, is now emerging as one of North America's leading hubs for CleanTech and electric vehicle innovation. But what's truly remarkable is the stability that Canada has maintained throughout this transformation. While the US has faced significant financial pressure from tariffs and internal political divisions, Canada has managed to create an environment that attracts investment. GM continues to operate in Canada, not because of government handouts, but because the country has proven itself to be a reliable and stable place to do business. The result? A thriving electric vehicle ecosystem that can withstand global shocks and still move forward with its ambitions. GM's plant in Ontario might have paused production temporarily, but the overall momentum in Canada's EV industry didn't stop. Canada's economy didn't just survive the storm, it thrived in it. So, what does all of this mean for the future of manufacturing and the global economy? Could Canada's shock absorber model be the blueprint for other nations to follow? The answer might be yes. By focusing on long-term stability, strategic investments, and a proactive approach to challenges, Canada has positioned itself as a leader in the global transition to clean energy. And as the country continues to innovate, there's no telling where this will lead. But one thing is for sure, Canada's economic model isn't based on luck. It's based on foresight, planning, and a commitment to adaptability. This isn't a quick fix, it's a long-term strategy that's proving to work in ways no one could have predicted. And as more countries around the world struggle with their own economic challenges, Canada's approach could provide the answers they need. If you've been paying attention, you'll see that this isn't just about electric vehicles or one factory in Ontario. It's about an entire country's ability to adapt, innovate, and thrive in the face of disruption. And if you think Canada's success story is just a fluke, think again. The quiet transformation happening across Canada's economy is real, and it's something other nations could learn a lot from. So, what do you think? Is Canada's economic resilience the future of global industries? How could this approach change the way other countries think about economic stability and innovation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next big story about Canada's electric vehicle revolution.